Once upon a time, in the quaint English countryside, there lived 4 little rabbits with their mother, Mrs. Rabbit. The 4 young ones were named Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. One fine morning, Mrs. Rabbit decided to go into the woods to gather some provisions, but not before she cautioned her little ones not to go into Mr. McGregor's garden, for that was where their father had met his unfortunate end. Little Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, being obedient children, went down the lane to gather blackberries. But Peter, who was a curious and mischievous little rabbit, ignored his mother's warning and ran straight to Mr. McGregor's garden. Inside the garden, Peter was overwhelmed by the abundance of vegetables. In no time, he devoured lettuce, French beans, and radishes. But soon, his escapade took a turn for the worse when Mr. McGregor spotted him and gave chase. Poor Peter dashed around the garden, but his coat buttons got caught in a gooseberry net. Determined to escape, Peter wriggled out of his jacket and bolted across the garden, leaving his little blue jacket and shoes behind. Panicked and in a distressing frenzy, Peter made several wrong turns, seeking a way out. He ended up lost in a net of cabbages, tangled in an array of plants he couldn't recognize. As Mr. McGregor closed in, Peter dove into a watering can filled with water, barely evading capture. When the coast was finally clear, Peter emerged, cold and shivering, and stumbled his way to the exit that led out of the garden to safety. Breathless and bedraggled, Peter hopped all the way home without looking back. Once home, Peter was scolded by Mrs. Rabbit, who had worried about his absence. He was tucked into bed and given only chamomile tea for supper, certainly not a feast like the one he had imagined in Mr. McGregor's garden. Meanwhile, Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail enjoyed a delicious supper, of course. Peter's adventure in Mr. McGregor's garden was a lesson he wouldn't soon forget. Curiosity might have led him there, but the narrow escape taught him the importance of heeding warnings. Though mischievous and curious by nature, Peter found that perhaps sometimes it was better to play it safe rather than become entangled in unforeseen dangers.